Alright guys, so I'm here with my brother Jeremy, kind of on a little bit of a mini stakeout, I guess, what you call it.
Yeah.
I may tell you guys about that some other time in the future, but he runs Lincoln, Illinois Paranormal Investigations. You want to plug your YouTube channel and Facebook page and website?
Well, right now we just have a Facebook page and a website. You can search for us on Lincoln, Illinois Paranormal Investigations on Facebook, or www.facebook.com/Lincoln.paranormal, or you can go to lincolnparanormal.com and you can get a hold of us, call us, message us, whatever you want to do. FaceTime with us, whatever you feel like.
And he's always going on these paranormal investigations, which you guys who have been watching my videos in the past kind of know how I feel about the paranormal right now. But tell us about your most recent investigation that you were telling me about earlier.
Well, since it's for the public, I can't really say any names or the actual location that we went on due to client confidentiality. But we did have a lot of good experiences. We had our laser grid kind of move by itself. We also had some voices. We had some K2 hits, motion detector hits. It was all in all pretty good investigation. It's not the most active that I've seen, but it's close to it.
What is the most active one you've been on?
One in Jacksonville was a demonic, and I went there, and there was two little boys involved. One was about 6 or 7, the other one about 8 or 9. And as soon as I walked in, the little boy said he knew me, he knew my name, he knew where I came from. He pretty much knew more about me than what I know. And I went in, he looked at me in the most serious, confident way, and he just said, "They don't want you here, you need to leave." Me thinking, I'm like, all right, maybe it's just a little kid, and he doesn't want to be afraid of the boogeyman or something like that. So I started interviewing his parents, and all of a sudden he just kept on coming up to me. He started talking to me about my great-grandma that passed away whenever I was little, back in '91, I believe.
Yeah.
And that's something I don't tell a whole lot of people. It's not posted on my Facebook page or anything like that. And he was telling me how she's still around me and how she's looking after me, and described her to a T, knew her name, knew her last name, and actually could pronounce cornflake, which a lot of people call it cornflake, or, you know, he knows, we all know. And he pronounced it correctly. He knew a lot of stuff about me. Once we started getting warmed up to each other, I took him around the house with a EMF detector, and I let him hold the EMF detector, and I was right there with him, and after I got permission from his parents, of course. And we went by, and everywhere he went, the EMF detector was skyrocketed all the way to red, no matter where he went. Well, after further investigating and talking with the parents and everything, one night the kid started talking in Latin. For a 6-year-old to speak in Latin, it's unheard of, unless if there's some kind of force there to manipulate him or something like that. I did get in touch with a medium in New York, Gina. We worked close with each other for years, and she basically took over, and the family ended up moving. They're still in contact with Gina because they believe that the child has sensitivities and abilities. And as of right now, since he's still a little kid with the possibility of sensitivities and abilities, he's basically a big old red flag for the paranormal. Demonic, regular entities, you name it, he's a red flag for. So that would probably be my most favorite / terrifying event.
So now I know this story, and there's only a few people. I think me, you, and one other guy know this story. Tell them about one of the reasons you got into the paranormal, which is the same reason I got into it. Tell them the barn story.
About the hanging guy?
Yeah. No, not the hanging guy.
Barn story.
The bullet hole.
don't know that.
The kid's dad, who just died a year before. Yeah, remember? When we were younger, we lived out on the farm, and my mom and her friend, I think her name was Sue.
Oh, you're talking about Tony.
No, not Tony. No. My mom and her friend from Springfield were catching up one day, and me, Jeremy, and her son were out playing. It was dark out, you know, and all of a sudden, my grandparents lived in the farmhouse across the yard from us. And we see this shadow go across their yard. It looked like a man walking. It went from their house to the garage, all the way to the barn. Then we see this light glowing in the window.
See, I think I was too little for that. I don't remember that.
And anyway, this guy, we start seeing this guy take shape in the window. Bearded guy. Looked like he was wearing kind of a flannel shirt, I guess. And all of a sudden this hole starts opening up in his forehead and blood starts gushing out. Come to find out is the kid's dad, who killed himself from a gunshot to the head a year before.
Well, you have to think, when we lived on the farm, I was like 6.
Yeah.
So I was too young. I don't remember it. I'm not saying that didn't happen. I don't remember it. The reason why I got into the paranormal is Troy Taylor, Haunted Decatur books. My brother had the books, my mom had the books, so naturally I just got interested in it. And then the incident with my great-grandfather on the farm, one day before school, I was heading out to the bus stop, and at this time we was living on the farm. And
in the farmhouse.
In the farmhouse, sorry. And I forgot my book bag upstairs in my bedroom, so I ran to get it. And as soon as
and if you know farmhouses, you know they're enclosed staircases. They usually have a door going to the upstairs. So
I went to go upstairs, and on the stairs it kind of goes this and then swerves, or it does like a 90-degree turn. So I got up on the couple steps, and so I was able to look up at the very top of the steps, and from there I saw this old guy. He had no feet. He was just standing there looking down at me. And I was freaked out. I was like maybe 7 or 8 at the time. So I ran outside. I left my book bag upstairs. I said heck with it. And
no, tell them what you really said.
Well, we won't go there. I was too little for that. But that night, whenever I got home, I told my mom about it. And I told Shannon about it. And at this time, my great-grandfather passed away way before I was even thought of. I never really knew him. I knew that he was...
A year before I was born.
I knew he was a jokester, but I didn't really know much about him. There was very few photos of him because he didn't like his photo taken or something, I don't know. So I told my mom about him, and I explained what he looked like and everything, and Mom was going through some family albums and came across a photo of my great-grandfather, aka Shorty, aka
Junior.
He had a whole bunch of different names. He was a jokester. And I said, Mom, that's him. That's the guy I saw. Well, then she was like, well, that's your great-grandfather. I was like, all right. He didn't look like my great-grandfather. I mean, obviously I knew what he looked like just from the few photos, but I never met him or anything like that. And that's when she told me that I resembled a lot about him, because he was a jokester, I'm a jokester. We both have good personalities, and telling me all these things about him, and I just described him to a T. And for a 7 or 8 year old to explain someone that they've never met, only through photos, explain how tall he was, his facial marks, everything, my mom was amazed by it. So that's what got me started, and Shannon and my mom carrying around Troy Taylor Haunted Decatur books all the time. So used to go to the graveyards as a kid and mess around. Old family farm properties. We used to go out into the woods and stuff like that. So that's why I got it. And that's how I got into it.
So give us the website address again. I'll do a close-up of your decal at the end of the video.
It's www.lincolnparanormal.com, or you can find us out on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Lincoln_paranormal.
Tales from the Crypt.
I nominate Adam with Dark Spectrum Paranormal, all LIPI members, along with Gina from New York and Madeline from our Chicago group.
My name's Caitlin. I was nominated by my husband. He didn't say my name, but I was nominated by him. I nominate Rainy Rockhouse